Hey everyone, good morning. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, today I want to show you an exciting new project that I started to work on the other day, and then I want to sow a few seeds with you guys. So about a few weeks ago, I was watching some YouTube videos. It was a really cold day in February, and I happened to be watching, I think it was called Growing a Greener World. And the host had on the owner of American Meadows. And I immediately fell in love with this guy's passion for seeds, passion for native plants, and also just embracing these things that he called mini meadows. And you know, my neighbor, who is right here, you might be able to see his property back there. He has a gorgeous wildflower meadow, and it's about 1.5 acres. And I always thought the concept of a meadow was to be left only to those that had a lot of land to work with. But after hearing this guy Mike speak, and he calls himself the seed man, I thought that was pretty cute too. It really just opened my eyes to the thought of embracing meadows no matter what size property you have. So let me show you what I'm thinking for a mini meadow here on our property. So you can see here we are at the raised beds, and this is what I see when I look out my kitchen window. And currently I have 600 tulips for cutting planted here. Over in this bed, I have, 8 dahlias that I'm overwintering just to see what happens with them here in 6B if you leave them in the ground and you don't give them any protection at all. Then in these other 6 raised beds, I have all my hardy annuals. And then what I decided to do is tarp off a 20-foot by 10-foot area, so 200 square feet, and put a mini meadow behind my raised beds. Because you know, these beds are really hardworking. I flipped them probably at least 4 to 5 times during the growing season. So even though I'm growing a lot of flowers in these raised beds, I'm also always harvesting and taking away the flowers from this area. And I thought, wouldn't it be a great way to kind of tithe back or give back to nature by putting in a wildflower meadow? I mean, in a way you could even call it just a pollinator strip, just something to help support them and to bring in more beneficials. So I decided to go with American Meadows for the seed because after I heard this guy Mike talk, I actually bought his book, which is called, I think, just Mini Meadows. And then it really just got my imagination going on all the different ways you could incorporate this concept of mini meadows into your garden. I mean, he was even talking about doing mini meadows in containers. So I really thought that just opened up the possibility of meadows for everyone. I love that. So I went with the Northeast Pollinator mix because it has catch fly in it. And if you watched my video where I talked about I wanted to redo my grandma's garden, which has actually become a necessity now because it's become a full sun garden. It used to be full shade, but because of the loss of a tree, it's now full sun. So that's also a project I'll be tackling this year. But I was really asking you guys, can anyone recognize this flower that she had growing in her garden that she would always call butterfly weed? But it wasn't the butterfly weed that we all know. Well, what it was catch fly. And so this mix has catch fly in it, but it also has lots of other great things to look forward to. It has wallflowers, and I've never grown wallflowers before. It has 4 o'clocks, blue flax, coreopsis, sulfur cosmos. Those are those beautiful orange cosmos. I love those. Sweet William, coneflower, Indian blanket flower, cornflower, and that will be interesting to see what color cornflower pops up over here because I did a fall planting over in that raised bed right there. Then we also have perennial lupin, more cosmos. It doesn't say a variety. I'm gonna guess it's the sensation mix, but we'll see what pops up. California poppy, corn poppy, catch fly, butterfly milkweed, black-eyed Susan, New England aster, which my neighbor has a lot of that in his perennial wildflower meadow. Plains coreopsis, and evening primrose, which I have some of that in my garden. So guys, I just thought this would be a fun concept, something fun, new, and different to try. All I did in preparation for this is lay down black plastic. I think I mentioned it, sorry if I didn't mention it already, 20 feet by 10 feet. You do the square footage, and then they just have a little calculator on the American Meadows website to tell you exactly how much seed you need to broadcast. And of course, you could go about prepping your area in a lot of ways. You could hold off on any preparation and just till the land and sprinkle the soil. I know there are some people that sprinkle it over their lawn with varying degrees of success. You could also go with solarization, which is where you use a clear plastic and you're kind of relying on the light and heat to just heat up that whole area. From what I read, sometimes solarization can result in early weed seed production. I know I have chickweed in this lawn. I even have Creeping Charlie. Don't you love Creeping Charlie? So I decided to go with smothering, which is the use of black plastic. So I'll let you guys know how that works also. I'm just gonna leave it there for 2 months. You know, in about mid-April, we'll pull it up, we'll rake it a bit, we'll seed it, and we'll water it and walk away and we'll see what happens. So now let me take you to another area that I've been working on. And this area has a lot to do with the seeds that we're gonna sow today, which is cup and saucer vine. So I had mentioned in the January garden tour that I was going to extend this walkway. You can see I've already purchased 3 stones to extend the walkway so that as you go along here, you're going to kind of be naturally directed toward my grandma's chair. And I'm going to be extending the hydrangea garden to make a little more sense. Also, I've started to smother the area over here a bit. This is going to be kind of a lima bean shape, but it's not really there yet. I'll get some spray paint and paint it out. And I was originally going to make homemade arches for this area, and I still may do that in another area. But I was doing some searching the one night and I came across these hummingbird arches from, I think it was Plow and Hearth. It's the only arch I've ever seen that actually has hummingbirds on it. So I got 3 of them and we're going to install them over this pathway. So I think this area should be called like Hummingbird Way. You're gonna kind of be walking through this hummingbird tunnel. And I want cup and saucer vine growing on every single arch. Now you may remember that I grew cup and saucer vine last year. I saved some of the plants and I planted them here on the front of our gate, but the ones that really thrived were the ones that I gave to my mom, and I took you over there and we looked at them growing up her bird feeder. But what we both noticed is that they were very vigorous vines. They put on great growth, but they really didn't have a lot of flower production, which is different from what I had seen on photographs. And I just wrongfully, I think, assumed that there was too much nitrogen in the soil. But then I was reading Sarah Raven's new book, A Year Full of Flowers, and she says that she has to start her cup and saucer vine in February in order to have it in full glorious bloom come autumn. So I think I was just seeding these guys way too late. Now the good thing is these guys grow really easily from seed. They're big seeds, so you shouldn't have any problem getting them going. But the other thing that happened was Florette 2 days ago posted the same exact information that I had just stumbled upon in Sarah's book. So let's go in and start some together. I think I'm only gonna grow maybe 6 or 8 plants, but like I said, they're really easy to start. And let's see what happens starting them this early in the season. We already know what it looked like last year. We can look at the footage and we can compare the differences. Hey Grace, you excited about the cup and saucer vine? Yeah, you like a cup and saucer vine, right? So these seeds are from last year, so I think I'll go ahead and sow 2 to a pot. These are 4-inch pots I'm going to be sowing in to start with, and then I anticipate having to bump them up from this to the size pot that I would probably use to pot up my dahlias. So a pretty big size pot at the end of the day. But hopefully starting these guys a lot earlier will help us get a lot more flowers on our vines. So these are really big seeds. So I'm making a hole that's about 1 inch deep. I just like to use a pen. That's kind of how I saw my grandma do it. All her pens in the downstairs area were always super dirty from seed starting. You can see a beautiful big seed right here. And so I'll just stick 1 in each hole. So I can't remember if last year I planted these seeds horizontally or vertically, but I noticed in Sarah Raven's book that she recommends planting them vertically. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow her instruction. But like I said last year, all of mine germinated and I can't remember giving them any kind of special attention besides just sticking them down into the soil an inch. So in a big pot like this with a big seed that's buried, I'm not as concerned about bottom watering. I did pre-moisten the soil really well before sowing these seeds, so I think I'll go ahead and just give them a little bit of additional water on top. And then I'm going to stick this on a radiator because both of my heat mats are in use at the moment. Now you certainly could put a humidity dome on this if you liked. Last year I didn't do that and they seem to grow just fine without it. I'll probably actually grow them on right here for the majority of the season because they're gonna get so large and we're gonna need to pot them up that I'll probably leave them here in the south facing window. And this is probably one of the only plants that I won't put under my lighting system. This and my sweet peas, I won't put these under lights. I won't put these under lights mainly just because how big they're going to get, and I won't put the sweet peas under lights because they really need to be grown on cold and very bright. And so I actually do that in a window that is broken. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. If you have any information on growing a wildflower meadow, if you've done this before, had success or varying degrees of success or failure with certain methods or flowers, I would love to hear all about that. I think, you know, with everything in regards to gardening, the more information and the more detailed information, the better. You know, especially if you don't mind sharing, generally speaking, where you're located, what's your land like, you know, even knowing things, are you working in a boggy area or a dry area? All these things help so we can really connect with gardeners that are in the same situation. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is just some other things that I'll be seeding this week. That'll be feverfew, yarrow, and status. So in case I don't get around to filming those, just know that's on the agenda. Those are all cool flowers and I'll be putting them out about 6 weeks before my last frost. So I want to wish you a great day and of course, happy gardening. Bye.